Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. I don't think most people realize it, but there have been 18 tax increases in New Jersey over the last year. Rosemary Becchi knows that. As a matter of fact, she's the one that told me. She is president of Jersey First. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Let's start with what is Jersey First?
Well, thanks for having me, Larry. Jersey First is an advocacy organization, and it's dedicated to keeping our friends and families here in New Jersey. And what our mission is to pursue policies that lower our taxes, cap our spending, and frankly, open New Jersey for business. We keep enacting, as you pointed out, these tax increases, and it's becoming too expensive for our friends and families to stay here.
It's interesting, the two groups that seem to be leaving New Jersey in the greatest number are millennials,
yes,
because they can't afford the rent, and then also seniors, because they can't afford the taxes, the property taxes.
That's absolutely right. The younger generation is having a hard time finding jobs. They're also having a hard time of, being able to afford to stay here. And the older generation can't afford the property taxes. Our foreclosure rate has increased over the last year by 19%. And that's because the older generation can't afford the property taxes. They might own the house, but the taxes are so high that they just can't hold on to it.
I want to go through the 18 taxes in a minute, but in defense of the governor, who people blame for a lot of this, the increase in taxes, he ran on this. He said, I'm going to increase taxes, and won by a substantial margin. So isn't this what the people wanted?
The people have elected him, but I think what the people really want is controlled spending and less taxes. I mean, it is becoming...
He said, I'm going to raise taxes. He said to people, I'm going to raise taxes, and they still voted for him.
They absolutely did, but it's now time to get things under control, because what's actually happening now is businesses are leaving, and they're not staying in the state, and I don't think people envisioned that happening. And so, we've really kind of got to get this under control, because what we're going to face is increased taxes again come June, when the next budget cycle comes up.
I talked to the leader of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, who brought up what you just brought up a moment ago. And they said, look, you can bring in all the VC, try to bring in all the VC money you want. They're not going to come because of the business climate that's currently here, not only with the taxes, but with business regulations.
Right.
And so I know the governor made this big announcement about the economic plan because we're not getting VC money. Do you agree that we're not getting the VC money because of the business climate?
Absolutely. We're not getting, it's not only the regulation, but again, to harp on it, it's also the taxes. How do you entice people to move here and set up businesses when they've got to pay exorbitant taxes, when they can go somewhere else in other places throughout the country and have less regulation and less taxes? I mean, you look at what's just happened with Amazon picking their headquarters, right? They chose somewhere else. New Jersey didn't get picked, and part of the problem with
was Newark ever in the running, really?
Who knows? Nobody knows for sure whether or not we were. I suspect we weren't. And I suspect we weren't because, who's going to want to come here and, again, bring their families here and pay all these taxes? And in terms of doing business, you're subject to so much regulation and so much red tape that it becomes too difficult to run a business.
Let's go through the 18 taxes and just give me a couple that people may not even realize went up or that they're paying.
I think one of the ones that stands out to me that people may not realize they're paying is the bag tax, right? So every time you go to the grocery store, there's a tax on the bag that you carry your groceries out with. And I think that, it impacts everybody's daily lives. And so that's the type of tax increases that we're kind of seeing happening throughout the budget. The other one you touched upon was the millionaire's tax. Well, the millionaire's tax actually affects small businesses because of the way small businesses are organized. And so they're organized in a entity, it's called a flow-through entity, and they are subject to those taxes and stuff on the income that they make. So you're really, like the millionaire's tax, it's really becomes a tax on small businesses.
But I would think that the people that are pushing for these taxes would argue this. They're saying we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, and we have a fiscal crisis right now, especially with the pension, and we need to figure out a way to pay our bills and make our budget. And so they might agree that in the long term they have to be more fiscally responsible. For right now, they need money. They need a cash influx, and that's the reason for some of these taxes. What is the fallacy with that?
We need to take a hard look at our spending and look at our budgets and really identify the inefficiencies, and we really need to tighten our belt.
Every time I say that to a politician, what you just said, every time I say that to a politician, they say, we've done that. There's nowhere else we can possibly cut. Have you been able to pinpoint places they can cut?
You know, it's one of the things that we are doing at Jersey First. We are undergoing some research projects and taking a hard look at where we can tighten the belt. You know, there's discussion around shared services or other ways to find and eliminate inefficiencies. But that is actually
consolidation.
Yes, correct. And that is one of the things that we're doing at Jersey First. We've actually just launched a research project where we are going to take a hard look at not only the labor force, but also the budget, and see where there are some inefficiencies that we could advocate for.
I think one of the frustrations has been, so these two new industries have sprung up in New Jersey. You have legalized sports betting now that's bringing in a lot of tax dollars, and now you could have marijuana. And nobody talks about using that money to bring down the tax burden on. It's going to go to pre-K, and it's going to go to a fund to defend illegals that are in the country from deportation. It seems to be going everywhere else but back to the taxpayers.
Well, and I think the problem is when you start to rely on the revenue from, I'll call it the sin taxes, from things like gambling as well as the marijuana, it never generates as much revenue as you expect. And it becomes very difficult to rely on that. You know, I think study after study has shown that a lot of times what happens is things start to go underground, right? Like that people don't want to pay the taxes on the legalized marijuana, so then you end up with more, you know, of the sales going underground and things like that in order for people to avoid the tax.
It seems like right now everything's going the wrong direction. The sales tax is expected to go back up. The gas tax just went up. It may go up again if they don't bring in enough revenue. You still have this millionaire's tax hanging out there as being bigger than it's supposed to be. Do you see anything in the near future under this administration that makes you believe taxes are coming down?
I think they are in a very difficult situation. I mean, in fact, I think this next budget cycle, they're going to be looking very hard at recommending more and more tax increases because our spending keeps increasing, and you know, you've got to pay for things, and so I don't see it, and so that's again why I've launched Jersey First, is because I really feel like we've got to come up with some good ideas and some good solutions and advocate for them. You can't keep spending, and you can't keep having people leave our state and not bring in new business. I mean, you know, you need new business and you need businesses to be here in order to generate revenue and you know, and have a thriving economy. So
thank you so much. I appreciate you coming
Thank
in.
you.
When you come up with those ideas and where you can cut spending, please come back. We'd love to talk to you again. Rosemary Becchi is the president of Jersey First. Jersey Matters continues right after this. Still to come on Jersey Matters, we'll talk to two people whose job it is to make certain that politicians don't say something stupid. That's when Jersey Matters continues.